celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Friday, October 11, 2019. And here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market front, it's a happy, happy day. From Asia to Europe to the USSA. Everybody's up, except gold is down and Bitcoin's down. But everybody else is shining brighter. Stocks rallied on Friday. You know why? After President Trump said China and the U.S. reached the first phase of a substantial trade deal that delays tariff hikes that were to kick in next week. So the Dow popped over 300 points. My forecast, any trade deal. Brexit also pushed the markets up. Looks like something gonna Brexit, easy. None of this is going to affect the global economy. The global economy is in a slowdown, has nothing at all to do with trade wars. So, even if they come to an agreement, the markets may go up shortly, but it's not going to keep them up because a lot more is bringing them down. And talking about bringing them down, right after the markets went up today, Trump said to those feds, bring them interest rates down. Quote, the Federal Reserve should cut rates regardless of how good this is, meaning the trade deal. I think they ought to get in step. Step, yeah, more cheap dough to keep the addicted gamblers on their high. That's all they are, money junkies, you got it? And oil prices went up today, 2.4%, after Iranian state media said 2 rockets had struck an Iranian tanker off the coast of Saudi Arabia. And that's what pushed the markets up in the oil sector. So you can see this heating up over there. Hey, if you could imagine if this was reversed and a Saudi oil tanker was struck 60 miles off the Iranian coast, little slimeball lowlives like Fatboy Pompeo would be pumping out
that was bullshit.
That Iran did it. There was no proof, but we'll make anything up. But when an Iranian ship gets booped, it's okay. And the Saudis, we don't have a comment. Yeah, we're too busy murdering those people over there in Yemen. Oh, what's a Yemen? Nobody talks about that anymore. They're our allies. Allies. Hey, Al, stop lying so much, huh? Anyway, oil prices are going to remain soft. If this keeps heating up, of course, they're going to go way up. But absent that, there's too much supply and not enough demand, and what's going on in China with the so-called trade deal won't change anything. And gold prices took a hit because of the good news that there's a trade deal. Let's get this straight. Gold has not gone up and down on the trade deal. It's a correction. Again, I hold by my forecast. The bottom of gold is $1,390. To get there, it has to break below $1,450. It's not right there right now. So I think it's temporary. And moving on to some other oil news. Shipper sanctions drive up oil transport costs. The cost of moving oil around the world has hit an 11-year high as producers scramble to find new supertankers following a U.S. blacklisting of major Chinese operator that has sidelined dozens of ships. These jerk-offs, by doing what they're doing, are raising the prices of things that shouldn't be going up and causing more heartaches for other countries. We have no right, not we, the moron, imbecile slime balls running this country have no right doing this. But And this word blacklisting, I find it offensive. I say we should call it whitelisting. And no more blackmail. I want to hear white female. We got to make this equal because, hey, look how stupid everything else is. Why not let's just turn totally ignorant because that's all we have running the show. Iran supplied oil to Assad from seized tanker, claims Pompeo, a Pompeo piece of shit. Why do we have people like these lowlifes running and ruining the world? Because people have no courage. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. Yep, for the Democrats and Repulsivekins in a country near you. What does shithead say over here? This terrorist oil will fund Assad's war and Iran's sectarian violence. Could you believe this crap? Sectarian violence? Hey, how about those Saudis that we're supporting, huh? And all those other murderous groups. Not we, you sick people. And he gets away with this stuff. Mr. Pompeo's tweet included satellite images that appeared to show the Andrea Doria 1 transferring oil to the Jazz mine a week ago before heading to the port in Syria. Oh, yeah, we got the proof. Where's the proof of what happened just with the Iran tanker? We don't look at that. We only make up shit that we want because I'm a fat shithead, an arrogant boy. Our Secretary of State, one losing piece of garbage after another. Oh, I forgot about John Kerry. Wasn't he great? Oh, yeah. His stepson-in-law, Christopher Hines of the 57 Hines. Oh, yeah. His partner, $50,000 to be on the board of directors of Burisma Energy. One murderous, low-life piece of garbage. Forgot Condoleezza Rice. Oh, yeah. What about Hillary Clinton? Look what's running and ruining this world. Anyway, moving on. Federal Reserve to resume bond purchases. Extend repo operations until January. But this isn't quantitative easing, not according to Jerome Powell. And this is the bullshit that they keep feeding us. Because, hey, remember, everything's okay. It was just 1 week. We're just going to keep this going until October 10th. Well, hey, wait, today's October 11th. Well, a couple of days ago, we said we're going to move it to November 10th. Oh, wait a minute, though. Now you're going to January. Until at least January. The Fed said it will start buying around $60 billion in Treasury bonds each month until at least the second quarter of next year and extend its overnight repo operations. Which were due to end November 4th. It was October 10th, then November 4th. Quote from another low-life piece of garbage. These actions are purely technical measures to support the effective implementation of the FOMC's FUCK monetary policy and do not represent a change in the status of monetary policy, the Fed said in a statement. Quote, the committee will continue to monitor money market developments as it assesses the level of reserves most consistent with efficient and effective policy implementation. This is what you call jerking off in public. The committee stands ready to adjust the details of these plans as necessary to foster efficient and effective implementation of monetary policies so we can keep pumping in that monetary methadone into the money junkies to keep them running. Disgusting. Hey, so what? Greece hits milestone on borrowing as it joins club of negative yielding issuers. More negative yields, more cheap money. What happened with China today in the markets means absolutely nothing. They're going to keep pumping it up until the addict ODs. And the greatest depression will come by 2021 may come earlier in other nations, but you can see with Trump putting pressure on the Fed, they're going to keep pumping more cheap dough in. Central banks start to edge away from U.S. dollar. Big story here. They're edging away, but the United States is still well in control. And although they're edging away, there's going to be a breaking point at some point. And I believe one of those breaking points when they get off the petrodollar. You buy oil in dollars, petrodollars. A deal made back then in Nixon and Kissinger days with the OPEC clan. And right now, 2/3 of global securities issuance and official currency reserves are dominated in the dollar. It's only 20% for the euro, and the yuan, the Chinese currency, accounts for about 2.1%. Goldman Sachs analysts said dollar reserves slipped nearly 4% points in 2017, 2018. So they've added a little, but we still have a ways to go. A lot more information in that. ECB snubbed own officials' advice on bond buying. An important story. A number of people in the European Central Bank group didn't want them to keep going with these negative interest rates or lowering them lower. Some did. They even wanted to go down minus 0.6 instead of minus 0.5. But others are against the corporate and government bond buying back because they don't feel that it's going to boost the economy. But everybody out there loves that cheap dough. Companies gear up to issue more debt. That's right. Keep pumping that money in. Keep raising that debt level. What do we have here? Requests for U.S. corporate debt identification codes increased 38% in September from the previous month. Goes on to say, as of Tuesday morning, year to date, U.S. companies' bond issuance, excluding the financial sector, totaled $1.04 trillion, up 16% from the same period last year. Blue chip companies, including Apple, Walt Disney, Coca-Cola, blah, 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 blah. The Federal Reserve is expected to cut short-term interest rates for the third time this year at the conclusion of its October 29th, 30th meeting. If they cut them then, I forecast they'll cut them again in December. You know, people ask, by subscribing to the Trends Journal, you get the current events forming future trends, and we give you the direction they're going, but what to invest in? And we don't give that kind of advice. We're not financial advisors, we're trend forecasters. But we put the picture together, and the motto of the Trends Journal, which has gone from a quarterly to a monthly to a weekly because global events are escalating at such a rapid rate, and it's the only magazine in the world where you will see the future before it happens and be able to prepare, prevail, and prosper. We put out the information so you could decide. So a story like this, for example. Dyson's gamble on electric cars falls flat as high costs bring venture to an end. Dyson has abandoned its attempts to break into the car industry after founder James Dyson, who claimed the move would redefine his business, admitted the venture to build electric cars from scratch in Singapore was no longer commercially viable. The billionaire businessman had hoped to harness his group's expertise in battery systems, aerodynamics, and high-tech manufacturing to break into the fiercely competitive industry. Meanwhile, in China, a lot of them are closing down already. Electric vehicles is not the future at this point until they come up with a new battery technology. We're only going to see very slow but steady growth. It's not going to accelerate. It's not the car overtaking the horse and carriage. Victoria's Secret cuts 15% of employees at Ohio headquarters, and you're going to keep seeing more as the Greatest Depression takes deeper and deeper hold, particularly at the bigs in the retail sector. Again, we don't give advice on what to do with your dough. Cost of living boost set at 1.6% in the United States for 2020. Senior citizens and other Americans, I'm a senior citizen, receiving Social Security will see 1.6% increase. That's total BS. It's nothing. They call that a cost of living increase because little low-life pieces of garbage like the murderous low-life, hey, you got your zipper up, Slick Willie Clinton, and that gang changed how inflation rates are factored in and how they are equated. So they rigged the numbers. They turned it all around, and so inflation wouldn't go up very high, so we, the little people, wouldn't get any money. They rigged the numbers. And now on to some international news. Zelensky denies Trump pressured him during call. That, of course, is the president of Ukraine. But let's ignore that even OD denied it, because Trump's guilty, according to the media. And again, I have no problem with Trump doing this because it's one dirty deal after another. And as we wrote in the Trends Journal, between Biden and Trump, who's the dirtier the dirty dealers? U.S. attack on Afghan drug lab in May killed 30 civilians. The United States said it was a Taliban place. And of course, it was more murder of 30 civilians in a war that just keeps going on. Go back, October 7th, not ancient history, 4 days ago. The anniversary when George, may he rot in hell right now, George Bush, W. Bush, launched the Afghan war. The entire toilet paper record, the New York Times, not one mention that the war started back then, and nobody in this country cares. Of course, I do, and that's why I launched Occupy Peace. www. Occupy Peace, to put your money where your heart is. And I'm making this very clear. It's not only peace in terms of militarized, what's going on in other countries, but the militarized police in a country near you as the Greatest Depression takes hold, civil unrest escalates, and they will kill, beat, and rubber bullet you to death if we don't stop them. We have to occupy peace now. And everybody's there down on Trump because he pulled them troops out of Syria to let those Turkishes go in there. U.S. to send 3,000 troops and warplanes to Saudi Arabia to confront Iran. Isn't that great? What hypocrisy. I was all in favor of Trump pulling them out of Syria, and now he's pulling this stunt. U.S. has abandoned allies in the Middle East before. It didn't go well. A stupid story by some stupid admiral who says how terrible it was that we abandoned people in the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And then they talk about George Bush Sr. starting the first Gulf War. Oh, and it was terrible. We abandoned allies then too. The first Gulf War also started on lies, and you had those lousy PR firms pumping up the baloney that Iraqi troops were going into hospitals and bayoneting the children in Kuwait. That's right. And it was a lie, just like the other lies that the slimy, disgusting, rotten Bushes keep pumping out. And people keep buying it. Like that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda. Yeah. And all the other criminals that supported him in it. What a story this is. One lie after another. Trump's move stokes Mideast uncertainty. Trump launches offensive against U.S. ally. Oh, our ally are the Kurds. You ask most American who the Kurds are, they're going to say Kurds in way? Like what's in Yemen? our allies, a murderous group that the United States put together to overthrow Assad, has nothing to do with ISIS. Shame on him. Evangelical Americans call out president over Syria. Hey, what Christ do you believe in? Not the Christ that I grew up in Catholic Church to look up to and call a God. What wars are okay with you? Not the ones that Jesus believes in, because he's the Prince of Peace, believes in none of them. And I, Gerald Celente, am a warrior for the Prince of Peace. I won't die for war, but I fight for peace. And talking about more garbage men everywhere around the world, Romania's government is overthrown in a vote. And what happened? Since coming into power in December 2016, the party has faced large-scale protests over graft and what many considered attacks on the rule of law. Yeah, another country run by criminals. And strikes continue to roil Ecuador as president stands firm on austerity, screwing the people, get the loan from the International Mafia Monetary Fund, and take away those rights of the people and charge them more, tax them more, so the gangsters could get more. And they moved the capital out of Kyoto and moved it somewhere else because they're so afraid. And to show the hypocrisy of the United States and how this place is no longer a democracy and no longer live by the Constitution. More whistleblowers are contacting Congress. The first two officials who came forward about President's pressure campaign on Ukraine seem to be just the beginning, according to the Hill sources. It's okay for the CIA to be inside the White House and spy on the President of the United States, love him, hate him, care nothing about him. It's a disgrace. It's against every element of what this country was founded upon. The security forces are in charge. Whistleblower asked to testify in writing. Lawyers for the CIA officer whose whistleblower complaint helped ignite the impeachment inquiry into President Trump have asked Congress whether their client could submit testimony in writing instead of appearing. Isn't this something? They get a special break. Yeah, we're intelligence without a brain. U.S. charges DIA analyst with leaks. A U.S. counterterrorism analyst was arrested at the Defense Intelligence Agency, where he worked and charged with leaking classified information to two journalists. Okay, you can't leak that kind of information. Put him in jail, but it's okay for the CIA to do what they want. What hypocrisy. And this is how low America's going. And to show you more, rich areas benefit more from disaster relief, data shows. Federal programs to help Americans move away from disaster-prone areas are skewed by the income levels of communities seeking help rather than being based solely on the risks they face, new data shows. Isn't that great, huh? Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. It's America. No, take out the C and put in a K. America, the USSA. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's trends in the news.